Good morning everyone, it's Pierre speaking. It's the 8th of April 2016. Time is about 7:30 when I made this video clip. A bit of a slow week for me guys. Last week I've been away on holiday, and usually when you go away for a week or two it takes time to get your mojo back. Your eyes need to settle again, you need to see the patterns again and just get used to the rhythm. Now it took me some time, and it wasn't probably the best week to come back after holiday. Lots of pairs didn't go anywhere because volume and momentum was low, and then the JPY pairs gave everybody the middle finger and just tumbled. Now in my previous years, when I started to trade out, it was very easy to call bottoms or tops and then trade them just to get burned big time. Once price got to my pivot levels, I just pulled the trigger. Over the years with Earth and Sky, I've learned to wait for confirmation, and this week I will show you how a plain 1226 EMA cross on the 30 minute kept me out of some very bad trades this week. Let's start off with the Euro Index 4-hour chart. Beginning of the week we said the 4 hours long, daily is long. We had to flip then from the bottom to the top because the main direction is long. All my charts this morning will have this orange line. This is when I did my write-up on Tuesday and when I posted at 10 o'clock. So take note of that. So we said we need to flip from the bottom to the top. We had a zone starting at 113 going down to 99.74. Looking back today, we can see how price found resistance at the 34 EMA in the week and then bounced back up. We would have preferred a bigger pullback to at least 99.74 and this level here, psychological level of 100. Now at the beginning of the week we bounced back up and then we came back into the trading zone. Currently we can see how we found support at the 55 EMA here at 122. Now saying that guys, we can see volume and momentum is low. We didn't break last week's high to the upside at 190, so we couldn't wait for those counter trades. Remember I called counter trades for setups at 101.28 if we get the confirmation to short. We didn't even get close there. Instead we can see price went sideways. 122 and 190 were the levels for this week, going sideways, so there was not enough volume momentum to break the high at 190. Now this is next week's problem. We're sitting at the weekly main pivot point at 100.32 going sideways. Look at all these 4-hour candles going sideways, going slowly nowhere. Correlated pairs: Euro US dollar, Euro JPY and Euro pound. A little bit different here guys. Also 4-hour tells us the long, daily tells us the long, so if we honor it we flip from the bottom of last week to the high. Then we had the zone starting at 12.96 coming down to 12.25. Year 2, after my write-up price came, we found support at the 54 EMA again, and then Wednesday's news made this shot up again. But look at that, we didn't take out the high of last week, 14.59. Instead today, if we look hindsight trading, we are ranging between 14.59 and 13.41. So that is a band of about 96 pips. Okay, so next week's problem. Euro JPY 4-hour chart. Beginning of the week I said to you guys in this area here at my write-up I will look for counter trades from the pivot point. You know I love my pivot points. Usually when we get to a weekly second pivot point or weekly third pivot point we highly oversold. Stochastic was way oversold, so there was possible counter trade setting up. However, in my previous years I would have pulled the trigger there and just take the trade. But I've learned over the years, and if we quickly drop to a 1-hour chart and we make it a little bit smaller and we place a trend line here. Look at that. The trend line didn't break. Once we got to the weekly second pivot point, once we got to the third weekly pivot point, the trend line on 60-minute chart didn't break. And if you go down to the 30-minute chart, that was my write-up on Tuesday, and look at this, the 12.26 was open all the time. We only had a 12.26 break early Asian session this morning, Okay, so that kept me out of some bad trades. Now price is busy pulling back. With the momentum we had, guys, I'm very scared to go long here, so I'll rather wait for pullback to 124.74 and 125.63, where I will relook to short this pair going with the main trend. If we look at the euro pound 4-hour chart, beginning of the week, that orange line was on Tuesday. We had a zone starting at 7.925, going to up to 7.878. Now after the write-up, price made new highs, so we had to honor it, follow it. Every time we make a new high, we had to follow it so that the potential trading zone can move, and that would be the new trading zone for us. And price currently making MACD divergence. Price trending up, MACD trending down. We're at a weekly pivot point at 8.077, so there's a possible pullback coming up to at least 7.991. So keep your eyes on that one. The pound US dollar daily chart. In the beginning of the week, I said to you guys, if we look at the daily chart, then we trapped in a triangle. On Wednesday, with the news that came out, we broke the triangle to the downside. But look at this. Price broke the triangle to the downside, but there was a lot of buy orders lying here at 4.013. Look how price came down. We touched the monthly pivot point, burnt immediately and pulled back. Very next day we had this candle follow through, and that you can say that was a possible M2 trade. However, price didn't get quite close to that trend line where you wanted to get in at 4.171. But nevertheless, price came, we touched, pulled back, possible M2 short there. Now saying that, 4.013 looks like a monthly pivot point. We've got a psychological level just underneath there. We already burned there, so that is a big support level for this pair. If you look at the pound JPY 4-hour chart, beginning of the week, orange line, that was my write-up. I said to you guys I will look for possible counter trades. We were at the psychological level and a pivot point. However, price made new lows, so we had to honor it. Every time we made new lows, honor it all the way down so that the potential trading zone can move. That was the new trading zone, starting at 5.713 going up to 5.986. What's that? Yeah, 5.986. Now here too, guys, if we quickly drop down to the 1 hour, we make it smaller and we place a normal trend line on the 60-minute chart. We can see we didn't break the trend line at any time this week to the upside, so there was no reasons on the 60 minutes to look for counter shorts at the weekly pivot point or the weekly second pivot point, even the third weekly pivot point. So although the 4-hour MACD was low, stochastic was oversold. Okay, if you only look at these indicators, you would have longed there. If you look at the 1 hour chart, look at that, stochastic was oversold. So a lot of guys, once we get to the pivot points, would have got in there with a counter long, because they were only looking at the indicators. There was no trend line break, and if we go to the 30-minute chart, we had no 1226 EMA cross, only had it in the Asian session this morning, and price is busy shooting up. Yeah, once again I also will relook only to go with the trend. We had big momentum down, so areas to look at 15607, 15747. Remember, that was pivot points that broke. Now it was support pivot points. Once support breaks, that turns into resistance. Aussie US dollar daily chart. In the beginning of the week, I said to you guys, look at the daily chart. We have MACD divergence. Price was trending up, MACD trending down, and price did give us that pullback. Currently, we're finding support at 7499, and underneath it, 7479 is a key area for me as well, as that is the 4-hour 200 EMA. So that's next week's problem. Aussie JPY daily chart. This was a bugger. If we quickly have a look at this, in the beginning of the week, I said to you guys, it looks like we've been ranging between this level here, 86.65, and all the EMAs here at 84.06. After my write-up, price gave me the middle finger. We broke to the downside, and now we could say it's an M2 trade. I didn't expect this, guys. Even in my write-up, I said to you guys, I'm not happy with an M2 trade. It turned out to be wrong, and it gave us an M2 trade. Although if you look at the 4-hour chart, we broke to the downside, all these EMAs and a weekly pivot point, and look how price broke to the downside. We didn't get the pullback to all these EMAs. That would have been a nicer entry if you had this. The price broke a level, pulled back to 84.15, and then the drop. Here too, prices are highly oversold now, but be careful with those counter trades. US dollar JPY 4-hour chart, same thing here guys. If we quickly flip from the high to the low, we had a zone 12.02 going up to 12.89. After my write-up also, we had to follow it all the way down to the new low so that the potential trading zone can move. And if we move our box, if we can just get the mouse to work for us, then that's a new trading zone there, starting at 110.73 going up to 112.25. Here too, well, this one was a bit different guys. If we look at the 1 hour and make it smaller, place a trend line, then we can see once we got to the weekly pivot point 1 and 2, even the third one, there was no trend line break on the 60 minutes. But here on the 30 minute, this one was a little bit naughty. Wednesday when the news came out, just before the news, we had a cross to go up, but the trend line of the 60 minute was not broken yet, and then immediately after at 12.26 to the downside again, and we drop further. So it was key to wait for that trend line break, and at 12.26 EMA cross we had one of the two, and it was a no-go, and price busy pulling back on this one as well. As I said, I'm a little bit scared with the JPY pairs to take those counter trades now. Momentum volume was big this week on these pairs, so for me I will rather wait till 10.08, 10.87 where support turns into resistance again. So take note of those levels. US dollar CAD. Beginning of the week I said to you guys that there was room on the US dollar index to move up a little bit, and this pair will follow. It turned out to be the right choice. We were about in this area when I did my write-up. Just after my write-up we jumped up to 3178 and found resistance there. It was the 75% FIP. If you look to the left of the chart, a little bit of previous support resistance, and price turned around again. Interesting is that we are ranging between 3178 3071 where we have the weekly main pivot point, so we're going sideways on this one. My feeling is that we might go and visit the mother-in-law next week at 3274. US dollar index, if we have a look at this, we flip from the high to the low, then we had a zone at 95.30 going up to 95.81. After my write-up we went sideways. I said you guys keep our eye on 95.06 where we have the main weekly pivot point and the 55 EMA. We came up, we touched the 55, and then we had a big drop, and that was Wednesday's news. And if we drop down to the 1 hour, I didn't want like this, because once we got to this 95.06 we were getting close to the news, and look at that. That is a engulfing candle, a bearish engulfing candle. So this candle is eating this one up. But in the 30 minutes, the confirmation just came into too late for me. We were very close to the previous week's low already, and there was just not enough pips in this. Because if you had to take it, your stop would have been 46 for possible 29 profit take. So that was not a good ratio. So as I said guys, a bit of a slow week for me, but over the years you learn. It's better not to have bad trades in the end of the day. So I'm happy with not taking any trades. I didn't lose any money, I didn't have any bad trades. So in the end of the day, I'm still a winner. Have an awesome weekend. Cheers.